Hey everybody, I decided to come on and make a video about my miscarriage. I did miscarry earlier this year, and right after it happened, I went and joined these different Facebook groups, these IVF groups, and just different support groups to ask questions and try to get some answers because there's not a whole lot of information out there about miscarriages and why we miscarry. Sometimes it could be the fetus has too many chromosomes, not enough chromosomes, or ultimately it just could not be a viable pregnancy and you miscarry. So, a lot of times doctors don't know why it happens. But I have decided to go on this journey, look at different YouTube channels and look at different women's experiences and just learn on my own. And so that's what I've been doing. And that is really the reason for doing this. Um, Last year, I did move up to South Carolina, just change of scenery, a new job, and different things like that around last October. And then in November is when I got pregnant. I knew in the beginning of my relationship that, I wanted to try for a family. So I did have an ectopic pregnancy when I was 18 years old. And so, fast forward 16 years later, I'm here trying again. And so, November is when I got pregnant. I was very shocked that it happened so quickly. And I did not know what obstacles I would face because, again, 16 years is a long time. It's a huge, huge gap. I had not been pregnant after my ectopic pregnancy up until last November. And so from there, maybe 2 weeks went by that I was spotting. And I knew that something wasn't right. Now, I was diagnosed with PCOS a few years ago, and all it is a hormonal imbalance. And so I'm thinking that the spotting was coming from the PCOS because I had taken a pregnancy test and the pregnancy test was negative. And so, I just chalked it up as that. And I said, you know what? It's negative. Let me just try to do some different things to balance my hormones back out. And so I pulled away from fried foods and just some of the bad things that I was eating because diet is a contributing factor to, you know, not helping with PCOS. And so my boyfriend suggested getting these tuna packs and eating some rice with them. I decided to go outside and, just do some light jogging, different exercises and things like that. Because again, I'm just thinking, it's just the hormones. I need to get my hormones back in sync. And so I tried with the tuna and the rice. Everything was good, like maybe the first 1 or 2 days. And then there was a day that I tried to eat it and I could not. I couldn't even look at the package. It made me nauseous. I was like, something's not right because I was just able to eat this the other day and now I can't. And so, for women who have been pregnant before and gone through food aversions, you're probably like, hey, that's a telltale sign. But for me, I did not know again because my pregnancy test was negative. And so, a few more weeks went by, and then now we're at right before Christmas. So around December 20th, I noticed the spotting had not stopped from November. And so by then I was like, something's not right. Let me get to the emergency room. Go to the emergency room. The first thing they ask you for women of childbearing age is when was your last menstrual cycle? And for me, I hadn't had one since November 1st, and here it again is December 20th. Um, so immediately they did a pregnancy test and determined that it was positive. And so on one hand, I'm very excited. I'm happy because again, we have been trying. But on the other hand, I felt in my gut that something might not be right because of the spotting. I was still optimistic. I said, let me just wait and see what the doctors say. But again, I just didn't know. So I had different emotions about it. So went to the ultrasound tech. She did determine that everything was growing in my uterus as it should, and she said I can confirm that it's not ectopic. So for me, that was a sigh of relief because I'm like, finally, I was a teenager. I had that ectopic pregnancy. From what I was told during that process, because I did have to have emergency surgery to remove it, is that one of my fallopian tubes were removed. And fast forward, after doing a fertility workup recently, I learned that I still have both fallopian tubes, but the one where I conceived, they actually just removed the blockage and they've repaired it. So they never removed that fallopian tube. So, what you run the risk of when that happens is developing scar tissue. And ultimately, now I have what's called a hydrosalpinx. So, on that right fallopian tube is not just scar tissue, there's also a fluid built up. So, what I've learned from that is that if I get pregnant on my own, or if I go through IVF, IUI, or whatever, I run the risk, if I don't treat that tube, I run the risk of that fluid seeping back into my uterus and ultimately terminating my pregnancy. So, I'm believing that that's possibly what happened with my miscarriage. So, again, go to the doctor after I leave the emergency room, maybe 2 to 3 weeks later. She's checking everything. There's a screen that's in front of you, so literally you can see everything that's happening. Um, she checked for everything, saw my ovaries, my uterus, did find 3 fibroids, but the fibroids are positioned in a places around my uterus that will not affect the pregnancy. So thank God for that. Um, and at the end of the visit, she did tell me that everything looks good, but she just did not find a heartbeat. So I was devastated. Again, I was optimistic during this whole process. It was around the holidays, so I was really excited. My boyfriend had to be on the road, so my plan was to call him and let him hit the heartbeat. And so you can imagine how I felt when I left the doctor's office and had to call him and tell him that there was no heartbeat. Just a ball of emotions. It was very difficult for me, very hard pill to swallow. The ultrasound tech said, this is just what I see, but the doctor will confirm my findings and then he'll talk to you about next steps. So from there, I went back into the doctor's office, waited on the doctor. He came in and he said, yeah, I looked at the pictures and looked at everything, and it looks like you should have been about 9 weeks and you were actually just measuring around 6. So it looks like, it stopped growing at about 6 weeks. Again, at that time, did not know why it happened. He said, sometimes these things just happen. You're young, you'll go on to have more kids, just try again. Um, and so I was still in a state of shock and disbelief, for me, because in my head, I'm like, you know what? Let me come back in a couple of weeks and look at this again. Sometimes women don't find a heartbeat at 6 weeks. Sometimes it takes 7 weeks. Sometimes it takes 8. You just don't know. I just had all of these different types of emotions. And so his next question to me is, what do you want to do? Do you want to try expected management, or do you want to try DNC? With the DNC, it is a surgical outpatient procedure. They extract everything out of your uterus, and I'm thinking they give you pain medicine or pills for infections and things like that, send you on your way. A lot of women opt to do that because they just don't want to go through the mental exhaustion of seeing this come out, and they just want to be done with it so that they can move on and try again. And I get it. But I chose expectant management really because I did not want to go through another surgery. I didn't want them cutting on me. Again, because I had already had a surgery when I was 18. So I just wasn't in that headspace. I did think about it briefly. And then I was like, no, you know what? Let me just wait, because, again, maybe I'll go to another doctor and let them test me and do another ultrasound. I just wasn't ready to let go, ultimately. And so I chose expected management. And all that is just you allow your body to release on its own and to just let nature run its course. I will caution though, I didn't know, because the doctor didn't tell me, that when you choose expected management, you will still go through contractions and like pain as if you were given labor. And so I did go through that. There was one night, I'll never forget. I was doubled over in pain. I went to the bathroom and I was contracting and it hurt like hell. And I just, again, I did not know what was going on, but I figured that that's what was happening, because I was still releasing everything that week. I had been taking some herbs to help me with that. It was a custom blend. And I was taking it as a tea every day, just a cup of it every day. And that night, just everything came out. Everything that was left over came out. And I will say afterwards, I was relieved, but it was just terrifying to go through that because I was not expecting it. So that is something to possibly look for if you do choose to go through expected management. And I'm sure that if you're further along than I was only 6 weeks. So if you're further along, then a doctor may suggest you should do a DNC. But when you're early like that, I think they just give you the option. And if I had to do it over again, I would go through it that way again. Um, because my thing is, hey, maybe you guys try to do a DNC too quickly, and maybe if I was to go back and let them check me and then they would have found a heartbeat, then I would have been devastated. So, I think it just depends, and definitely just talk to your doctor about your options. But yeah, this happened around the holidays again. It was very difficult. My mom had called me and, said some prayers. My brother called me and said some prayers for me. It was just hard because this is something that I wanted for so long, and for it to finally happen and not happen, it was just difficult, man. And so now I'm just on this journey to, just a holistic approach to getting this resolved. The fertility doctor is suggesting that I do get that fallopian tube removed to just be done with it. And I get it. But for me, I just want to try other options before I just go straight to surgery. So some women may say, hey, I just choose go straight to surgery. I get it. But I'm 35, I'm not, so much older that I don't have a whole lot of time. So I do have some time there where I can just kind of take my time and try this holistic approach and try my herbs and everything first. And so that's what I'm choosing to do. And hopefully I can get this fluid drained, I can get it removed, and I can try again. Whether I try IVF, whether I try conception on my own, I really just want to give my body a chance to heal itself and just try again for a healthy and successful pregnancy. So I hope this helps you. This is my journey and it may sound familiar to you. So, if this rings true to you or to anybody that you know that's going through something similar, please share this video with them. Send me any comments or suggestions, any questions that you may have. Thank you in advance for your well wishes. And I'm just hoping that all of us get through this together, whether you're trying with your boyfriend, your husband, your partner, trying it on your own with a sperm donor, whoever. Just do your due diligence in finding out what's going on with your body, get to the root cause of it, and just try to fix it, just to minimize having recurring losses. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. Like and subscribe, and have a good night.